All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 269 of the 815 Exchange. And well. All right, it's a big week for football. All right, I was off, gallivanting at breakaway on Friday night and Saturday night, but I still was able to catch the amount of good football we had promised this week. And so far up to this point, it is delivered. So let's talk about it. All right, we got that in college football and in the NFL. We've got Gen V and Peacemaker cooking up great episodes back to back, band for band, all right, in the world. So we'll be talking about that in entertainment. Young Doug also dropped. How we do? Is it SCUTI? Like how am I supposed to? Anyways, we're gonna talk about that Doug album and the mixed feelings on it. We got bunch of stuff to talk about in the roundup, to be honest. Too much to, kind of go through. But, as always, remember to like, share, subscribe, guys, if you're in the content. And as always, everything you're looking for in this life can be found in my description, or it can be found, simply put, in the outro, social media links, or embedded in the video, timestamps. So, y'all know the drill. Without further ado, you know how we start this off. College football. All right, let's get to what's at hand. And we started off early, not on Saturday. No. We started off on Friday because my. Florida State was the talk of the town. Took out Bama to start off the year, and we were like, yo, Tommy football, Heisman race for Castellanos. Florida State might be serious alongside Miami in that ACC. And then Virginia came and said, to hell with all that. All right, they just said to hell with all that. In 2 OTs, followed by the quickest, and I mean the absolute quickest storming of the field I have ever seen in my life. It felt like they were already on the field as soon as the ball fell incomplete. It felt like the fans were 5 yards already onto the field. It was insane. Like, that's the one that I was like, okay, because I thought Squirrel White got trampled for a second. It felt like one of those zombie movies. That's what it looked like watching the UVA fans come down and storm the field, because they were on it in like beyond a half a millisecond. That was some Max Verstappen when the lights go down off it, like that type of reaction time. It was honestly impressive. A little bit scary, but honestly impressive. UVA, though, gets it done here. Chandler Morris, all right, he's going to steal the headlines, but he did throw 3 interceptions. All right, we had some absolute up and down, pure gunslinging quarterback play in this from Castellanos and from Morris. Chandler ends up with 266, 5 touchdowns total, 3 interceptions. Tommy finishes with 332, 2 touchdowns, but he also had 2 interceptions. And yeah, Florida State, just everything that has gone right for them in these first couple weeks, it just felt like it all came to a head in this game for whatever reason. Virginia just stuck with them and then got ahead, and then Florida State just never was able to kind of like flip the switch and take command of the game. It just felt like they were at UVA's level, and UVA just was in control. Got it to OT, and then Virginia just, I don't know, the environment, it just never looked like Florida State was ever in the rhythm that they've been in the past couple weeks. So, yeah. Pavard, 2 picks off of Tommy in this game. Deuce Robinson did play a good game, I will say, for the Seminoles. He had 9 receptions, 147, and a touchdown. He wasn't the best USC-associated wide receiver performance we'll talk about this week in a losing effort. But, yeah, crazy field storm. Congrats to the Who's. They get it done here. All right, 46-38. UVA takes out Florida State. That number 8 ranking is cursed. Arizona State said, hold on. I know we had a little slower start to the year this year. Sam's been looking shaky. We've talked about it on the show. But let's not forget. All right, let's not forget. They upset TCU here 27-24. They get it done. A nice fourth quarter comeback here for the Sun Devils. It was a nice bounce back game. All right, it was a nice bounce back game for Sam Levitt. 353, 3 touchdowns. He looked like the Sam Levitt that we were promised going into the season. This has been the year of disappointing quarterback play in college football. And Levitt, I mean, honestly, he's been a part of that. Even though Jordan Tyson, by the way, 8 receptions, 126, and 2 touchdowns in this game, has been unbelievable. He's looked like one of the best players, not just best receivers, but one of the best players in college football. He is firmly in that Biletnikoff race, if not sitting at P1. So yeah, Tyson's been cooking, but they've needed their quarterback. All right, that is the thing that can push Dillingham and the rest of this Arizona State team to that next level. He needs his QB, and his QB hasn't been there. All right, his QB's been shaky, but in this game, Levitt was that guy, especially in that fourth quarter, helped lead that comeback. Elliott, oh my days, Keyshawn Elliott had a game. 7 receptions, 1 sack, 2.5 TFLs. Josh Over never looked. I mean, this was not Carolina. Let's put it like that. This was not UNC and Bill Belichick that he was facing. All right, 2 picks in the game for him. It was a rough one. The latest one honestly helped set up that go-ahead, essentially game winner for Arizona State that he threw when they got the ball back after ASU tied the game. So yeah, not a great day for Hoover. A great day for Levitt, and Arizona State might just be back. Illinois looked back. For the most part, they look back. Now I know USC fan, I should be, down in the dumps. But honestly, I'm kind of used to it at this point. And there were still some things. I've had very low, I'm not going to lie to you, I had very low expectations for this team going into the season. I had very, very low. So honestly, even losing by 2 to this Illinois team in a game that we maybe should have won, I'll take. Honestly, I'll take. On the road, I'll take. Want to win these games, eventually, hopefully. But honestly, I'm not as mad as I think some people are about this game. We cannot give them 1 minute and 55 seconds. All right, Lincoln Riley still has this defensive issue where they does not have a competent defense. Now, defense headed in the right direction, yes. Is it there? No. I'm willing to still give it some time, but it's a recurring issue, so it's going to be brought up every time when we're talking about Lincoln and his teams is that defense. All right, it's always been the red flag, the Achilles heel. Have these amazing offenses and these defenses that cannot stop anybody. And that's what happened in this game. All right, Luke Altamar was very efficient here. It was easy, 20 for 26, 328, and 3 touchdowns for Luke. A nice bounce-back game for him. However, if I'm being honest, as great as Illinois played in this game, as great as they played this game, and they won it, all right, which is the most important part. Mekhi Lemon stole the show. I would be amiss, even besides me as a USC fan, if I did not talk about Mekhi Lemon's performance in this game, especially in the clutch. Good God. I don't know if I'm calling with Jeremiah Smith being the species that he is. I'm not going to call Mekhi the best receiver in college football. I mean, Jordan Tyson as well is there, but he's in that tier. He is in that tier, okay? He is in that tier of the elite at the wide receiver position in college football. This was an otherworldly performance from Mekhi. It didn't matter how good. I mean, he was open a lot, but it didn't matter how good the coverage was from Illinois and their defensive backs. He just somehow made some insane tough catch or found that little inch of separation that Maivia was able to place it in, and he made the catch every single time. I know it had to be stressful for Illinois fans watching that fourth quarter and Mekhi Lemon just making play after play after play after play after play after play. 11 receptions, 151, and 2 touchdowns for Mekhi. He made an absolute statement in this game. I really think this game turned for USC, however, when Wayman Jordan, who's been one of the best backs in the country this year out of JUCO, when he fumbled on that first possession when they were rolling and he was looking good, and that gave Illinois that leg up to get that score in. I really think that changed this game. I really do. I know that's such a minuscule thing early on in the game to change it, but I really think Wayman Jordan's fumble earlier in the game that gave Illinois that advantage. They were able to stay on that, not ever get on that back foot. They were able to stay ahead the entire time. I think that changed things. All right, now Wayman is still looking very, very good. Maivia, 364, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Not his best game. But he still looked like one of the better quarterbacks, honestly, in college football. So, yeah, productive day for USC, but that defense still needs some work. Illinois, good bounce-back game. Altamar, very much so a good bounce-back game for him. Now let's talk about the premiere. All right, the big three. The big 3 games this week. Even though Illinois-USC was also a ring matchup, these 3 were the ones. All right, Oregon-PSU. Penn State was having a whiteout as well for this, and they've won, I think, they're the last 5 or something whiteout games. Well, that's done. That's all done with. It took 2 overtimes, but Oregon gets it done on the road. They go into Happy Valley and get the 30-24 win. In a world of absolute fraudulent 5-star prospect quarterbacks, Dante Moore just might be the one. Okay? As much as that pains me to say that, all right, as a Trojan fan, Dante Moore just might be the one. Okay, he just might be quarterback one, honestly. 248 and 3 touchdowns for Dante, including being clutch when it matters. That insane evasion and then the sidearm throw that was just disgusting. Moore's looked like that guy. He's now, I think, the Heisman favorite by kind of default at this point. So, yeah, we'll see. But Dante Moore looks like the only quarterback living up to his billing currently, and Oregon looks like a very complete team. All right, defense, offense, they got everything. All right, and Lanning is an absolute psychopath. He looked coked out of his mind in that interview, even though I'm sure I mean, there's a non-zero chance, but I'm sure he wasn't. He just was high off of life and high off the adrenaline of the game. But my gosh, that was like a Hulk Hogan promo in the 80s. But, yeah, Oregon, great win here. All right, a great win. It's always a great win to go in to Penn State and get a win. But Drew Alar, okay, come on down, buddy. Come on down. Yeah, no. Let's just call it what it is, right? The idea of Drew Alar is better than what Drew Alar is. And honestly, it's been like this for a minute. He blew up during the COVID year of high school football. He suddenly went from relative unknown to the number 3 prospect in the country, the number 1 quarterback. And I was like, okay, I guess. All right, and he looks the part. Alar looks the part. Even with the baby face, he looks the part of this is the prototypical quarterback, the prototypical modern quarterback. But he just don't got it. Some people, Dante Moore, have it. Some people don't have it. Drew Alar. And I'm tired of pretending that, eventually he's going to figure it out. He's not. He's just not that guy. As much as his billing and the hype and what he's supposed to be, the idea of Drew Alar, this is a great lesson, not just for us in college football and just football in general and sports, but also in life. Fellas, even this applies to the ladies as well. All right, watching this. Do not fall in love with the idea of people. Take them for as they are, okay? Falling in love with the potential of somebody will take you to places you do not want to be. Make you do things that you should not do. Right now, a lot of people fell in love with the idea of what Drew Alar could be and not what Drew Alar is. And it's time after this game that we accept the reality of Drew Alar is just not that guy. He's just not. He's not. I'm sorry. He's not. James Franklin once again continues his absolute abysmal ranking against the top 5. But Penn State, that's what you are. All right? Similar. Accepting reality here. You are the gatekeeper to the stars, as they say in the WWE. You are the gatekeeper to the elite. In the UFC, we would say you're the benchmark. All right? If you want to be a championship contender, you got to beat this team. Penn State, that's what you are. All right? Until otherwise proven. Ole Miss and LSU, of course, this was known as the Lane Kiffin versus Whit Weeks game, as Whit Weeks is literally Landry Kiffin decided to hard launch a relationship with star linebacker Whit Weeks. The week of the game, that was always very interesting. But Landry was full hotty toddy on Saturday, and it was all hotty toddy during the game. Ole Miss gets it done here, 24-19. Of course, some factors were ailing LSU in this game. Caden Durham. All right, the very well-regarded, highly touted running back was out for this game. So Harlan Berry, the star freshman, had to step in. He did score, so not bad from Harlem. Whit Weeks apparently got poisoned during the Kiffin family dinner, whenever it was this previous week. I don't know if Landry sipped something because he was throwing up on the field, but he still managed to make a few plays here and there. And then, of course, the biggest ailing factor for the Louisiana State University Tigers, of course, is not Whit. It wasn't Caden being out. It is simply the fact that Garrett Nussmeier sucks. Yeah, no, Nuss sucks. He sucks. Similar to how we just talked about Drew Alar and frauds. Yeah, no, he's a fraud. He's a fraud. I'm done pretending that Garrett Nussmeier is just some type of gunslinging quarterback one that's got it. No. I watched a gunslinger today. I watched Baker Mayfield play. Garrett Nussmeier is not Baker Mayfield. He's not Brett Favre. He's not none of these dudes that y'all are trying to say he could be like that gunslinging. No, he ain't that. That is not who he is. He's in college. Take him off your draft boards. Unless you want to be fired. Which, if you want to be fired and you're a GM, go for it. All right? But Nussmeier, similar to Alar, let me say it once again here for episode 269, it's not that guy. Another guy that we thought maybe is the guy. He isn't the guy. He's not. Trinidad Chambliss outplayed him And Chambliss is getting into a habit of this. 385 in this game for Chambliss. Good gosh, the former D2 Heisman. He had a touchdown, did have a pick in this game. Witt did have, I think, a fumble recovery in the end zone, so not all bad. But yeah, Landry gets, bragging rights. So does Lane. He was tweeting very frequently after that game. But yeah, Ole Miss gets it done. They needed this. They needed this. They needed a big time statement win, and they get it here versus LSU. All right, so congrats to Ole Miss. They've made themselves relevant. Very, very relevant in the SEC race, but again, that is a loaded conference, so we will see. All right, and of course, the biggest matchup in the SEC historically for the past couple seasons has been Alabama and Georgia. And similar to James Franklin just not being able to beat anybody in the top 5, Kirby Smart in Georgia, for whatever reason, regardless of talent, national championships, whatever it is, cannot beat Alabama. This is their Achilles heel. They cannot beat. Alabama could be 1 in whatever, and they would still beat Georgia. It's honestly remarkable. No matter how down bad Bama is, they just can't beat them. It honestly feels like a mental block, and it continued here again. Bama gets it done 24-21. Ty Simpson is legit. All right, we talked about a lot of fraudulent quarterbacks. Ty Simpson appears like he might be legit. You do this against a Georgia defense, even though it's Bama versus Georgia, so that has extra circumstances. But Ty looks good. All right, he looked good in the game that they lost against Florida State. It wasn't really his fault. He looks like a quarterback. All right, 276, 3 touchdowns. Shout out to him. Chauncey Bowens may be the only person that showed up, it felt like, for Georgia, besides some of them defensive players. He had 119 and a touchdown. But yeah, Georgia just cannot beat Bama for the life of them. They cannot beat Bama. However, I can't be completely all pro Bama here in this recap. It's time to talk about Ryan Williams. What is wrong with Ryan Williams? I mean, he closed. Again, he rode a lot of the hype the catch he made against Georgia last year, right? He rode a lot of that into glory, into stardom. But he still looked like, a future star. At certain points during the back half of last season, even though he wasn't as good as he was in the first half. What is going on with him right now? He has the yips. It feels like when Jamar Chase, during that first preseason with the Bengals, just couldn't catch anything for whatever reason, and it was so confusing. It feels like that's what's happening with Ryan right now. That was a horrific drop that really could have put this game away. And boy, if Georgia was better, could have made them pay. I mean, and it's happened every single game this year, except for last week when he finally showed up. But every other game this year, he has not been that guy. Bernard has looked better. Horton, who scored in this game, has looked better. Williams has looked like the 3rd, 4th best receiver on this team when he's supposed to be one of the headlining guys in the sport. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with Hollywood. I don't know once again, like we said and joked around in game 1, that he spent too much time being an influencer and he forgot to be a football player. But yeah, boy needs to hit the jug machine because it's not looking good for Hollywood. But Bama, there's life. All right, not dead yet. Not dead yet. Far from it. Staying in the SEC because we do have to. We did have some more firings this week of quarter. Yeah, it just head coaches. Y'all don't got the same immunity y'all used to right now. Arkansas fires Sam Pittman. To nobody's surprise, after they got the break speed off of him against Notre Dame. This was well overdue. I'm gonna be honest with you. Well overdue. The idea of Pittman started off great. He had moments. He brought in some talent, but he's just not a head coach. I don't know. I just don't know if Sam is a head coach, so he is up out of here. Virginia Tech fired their head coach, and now they're flourishing. They just beat State, who are in absolute free fall. Absolute free fall currently. We'll see where they land. Dave Doran, you might be next up on the chopping block. Duke battered Syracuse 38-3 to stay in the ACC here. So yeah, that Clemson just continues to look worse and worse and worse and worse. But the Coastal Division is Coastal Divisioning, so we will see. All right, we will see. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, that was CFB. All right, ladies and gentlemen, ENT. And I'm not going to lie, Editor Chris was absolutely jazzed to finally be able to use the photography transition there as this finally ended when the cameras segment ended. So that was just beautiful. All right, beautiful. We get to do that for entertainment again. But yes, ENT, we actually got some stuff to talk about this week. Of course, I went to Breakaway Festival for the 3rd time this year. For the 3rd time this past weekend. It was a good time. All right, it was a good time. It's always a good time as long as you got a good group. Honestly, I am pro festival, pro rave. But yeah, John Summit was John Summit. Kate Renata changed my life, though. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Kate Renata changed my life, as you saw if you follow me on IG. But let's talk about what's here at hand. Actually, you know what? Before we talk TV, since we talking music already with Breakaway, let's talk about Thugger. All right, let's talk about Young Thug. SCUTI, however we're supposed to say, US. I'm gonna just call it US. The Thug album. All right, he finally dropped it. What is this? Like, what is this cover, bro? Like, what is this cover? What are we supposed to do with this? I'm still confused. Like, this is outrageous. All right, absolutely outrageous. He is white in this, right? I'm not just seeing. Y'all see it too. Like, he's white in it. Anyways, all right. Controversies aside with this entire rollout and this absolutely deranged album cover from Thug, which again is somewhat part of the course, honestly. This album was very polarizing online. Very, very polarizing. Some people were like, yo, there's some actually it wasn't. It was polarizing not to like, oh wow, this is, you know, album of the year, then this sucks. This was either this sucks or this is okay. Which kind of tells you where Thug's career is currently heading. But yeah, there was a lot of people that didn't like this. Honestly, it was better than I kind of, after seeing that, expected it to be. I'm going to give it a 7.8, which is still very respectable. It was by no means, in my opinion, a bad album. Is it prime Thug? No. I think those days have come and gone. All right? There was so many features on this. Which I get. He wants to, you know, work with a lot of people post, you know, everything that happened with him going to jail and all that stuff. But my gosh. All right. And one of the most ironic thing, we always joke about the government mandated 21 Savage and Travis Scott, amongst other people, and usually Future, which all three of those were on this album, by the way. We usually talk about those government mandated features. They were the best songs on the project, potentially. Honestly. Part of My Back Feet, Wham, Lil Baby was great. Pipe Down Feet Trav was great as well. So those were my two favorites off of first listen. But yeah, this is a firm 7.8. A firm 7.8. It's an above average album, but yeah, nothing groundbreaking for Thug. Far from his best, but might just be what he is. Honestly, if it was like his last album and he like had promoted it a little bit better, I think it would be better received. I'm gonna be honest with you. Let's talk about TV though. All right, because Gen V is cooking. Woo, they cooking, boy, they cooking. All right, we had the headliner of the Bloodbender versus the Genderbender, which is absolutely insane titling. But, all right, it was supposed to be Jordan versus Marie, which did happen. But, of course, the bigger revelation from this entire episode was Cypher. All right, now I've got a prevailing theory that a lot of people are saying, but I kind of thought about it too. I think Cypher is either Gondolkin's son or he's some random person that he took over. And Godolkin, as we saw, blew up with all the V that they were testing in the lab, got caught with the fumes. I think he got V, and I think now he's controlling, after he made that bloodbath comment with Marie, I think he's controlling Cypher's body somehow, and he's making the moves. That's how he has that power of being able to control Jordan like that and control people and basically, you know, telekinesis. That is my prevailing theory. We will see, all right? And I also don't know if Godolkin is completely bad, all right? I think he could be working against Vought a little bit here. So we'll see. He seems to genuinely want to see all of the kids kind of level up. He's doing it in the complete rage bait way. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if that's another twist there. But Hamish is absolutely killing that. All right, absolutely killing that role. Stephen Kalin, our Dean De Laurentiis, all right, for us off-campus fans, has been interesting as Greg. All right, we'll see what happens with him and our dear little cricket. But, you know, interesting. Apparently he's got flight. I was trying to see what his power was. Apparently it's flight, but I don't completely trust him yet. All right, Kate is back on the good side. Oh my goodness, Maddie Phillips was looking like a baddie in this week's episode. But yeah, good to see Kate back on the winning team, or we'll see if they have the winning team. But for now, Gen V is cooking. Peacemaker is also cooking. The only complaint with Peacemaker episodes is that they're so short. All right, they're like 30 minutes, but otherwise it's so good. As a lot of people thought, Peacemaker is in fact in Earth X, which is where the Nazis won. And of course, Christopher Smith doesn't realize that because he's got his dad back and his brother back and everything seems fine. But we all realize that, wait, there are no people of color at any of these extras. All right, into the Pig 25, that is definitely a deliberate move. And yeah, hardcore Amelia catching that literally like 2 seconds into going outside was funny. Adebayo leaving and us just all being like, no, do not take that walk. This is not going to end well for you. That was just complete doom. And yeah, we'll see. Economos got stabbed through the hand by White Dragon. So yeah, a lot going on. All right, a lot going on. Hardcourt versus hardcourt maybe next week. We will see. But yeah, Peacemaker, Earth X, James Gunn, the gun is still loaded. All right, it's still loaded out here. Let's talk about the National Football League, shall we? Let's talk about it. Seattle and Arizona kicked us off here on Thursday. FaZe Clan was in the building. Shout out to Adapted Swag. And they went back and forth. All right, this was a back and forth game. A very, very good game, honestly, if you were neutral. But Seattle was able to eke it out 23-20. Myers with the 52-yard game winner. Boy, did this come alive in the fourth quarter. Boy, did this come alive. And honestly, Kyler went 200 for 2 and 2. 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, which you would think on paper, scary, spooky. But honestly, one of them wasn't his fault. It's about the guy we're about to talk about. Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, was lauded as this generational wide receiver prospect. And simply put, Marv has not been that guy. He has not been that guy up to this point. Rookie year was forgivable. It was not the most impressive rookie of the year. Rookie year campaign. Of course, he got outshined by neighbors who we're also unfortunately going to have to talk about later in this episode. But it wasn't anything too impressive, but he wasn't necessarily bad, right? Sophomore year, maybe he makes the jump. Nope. We're out of a slump, actually. And he just couldn't catch. For a guy that was supposed to laud it for these great hands, he just was dropping these ridiculous balls. Had one in this game that resulted in a pick. And but eventually that fourth quarter, he got a touchdown, had a really, really emotional moment. And maybe that's the breakout for Marv. Maybe that was him getting through his yips. Maybe that's what Ryan Williams needs for Bama. But it's been a rough one so far for Marv. And yeah, hopefully that touchdown was something bright to give him kind of that momentum and get his mojo back because he's been off. All right, he's been off. And they need him, all right? They need him because they weren't too far out of this game and they're not too far out of this division. However, Nwosu and Leonardo, yes, my boy Leonard Williams, all right? Big Leonardo, the Lion, were feasting on Kyler, all right? That offensive line for the Cardinals was in scary hours. 2 sacks for Nwosu. Leo had 1.5. How about them USC boys fight the on, and Seattle gets it done 23-20, like I said, and get some momentum here in the NFC West. Let's go to Dublin. Yeah, let's go to Dublin. Pittsburgh gets it done here 24-21 over Minnesota. Kenneth Gainwell had 35 points on my bench, but I am glad. Boy, am I glad I picked him up in fantasy. However, he might just be an international game merchant at this point, but we'll see. All right, 99 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns for Gainwell. He was very, very good. A very efficient day out for A-Rod. DK had that 80-yarder, which was very, very big. All right, very, very big and kind of changed the momentum of this game. They had 6 sacks, 10 TFLs, 3 of them from Patrick Queen. All right, a great defensive performance, a capital G great defensive performance from the Steelers. It felt like the old Steelers, all right? It felt like the old Steelers. But a win that they needed. Carson Wentz was not good in this game. He had 2 picks, came back down to earth as expected, and the Steelers go into Ireland and get the W. Speaking through some of these, Houston and Tennessee. Went about as well as you would expect. All right, this was an absolutely disgusting game for the most part. It was 6-0 for the longest before the Texans just kind of took off. But they get the win. Cam Ward has his moments. All right, he has his moments of brilliance, has his moments of rookie. So about what we've seen. Atlanta and Washington was good though. I'm not gonna lie to you. This was good. All right, this was good. As a Commanders hater, it was good, but also as like a neutral, it was good. All right, it was good. The Falcons got their get back. They needed this. After last week's catastrophe, they needed a game like this. Penix needed a game like this. 20 for 26, 313, 2 touchdowns, did have a pick. But overall, much better game for Penix. This was huge for his confidence, I believe, putting up this performance against the Commanders, who even though they're banged up a little bit, Jaden Daniels didn't play in this game. Terry McLaurin got that contract, and now he said deuces. He didn't play in this game. This was a big game for Penix to kind of get back in rhythm, and I think he did that here. Drake London also, 8 receptions, 110 and a touchdown. It was a great week to be a Trojan. Besides us losing to Illinois, it was a great week to be a Trojan. Bijan Robinson, by the way, receiving, had 4 receptions, 106, and really should have scored on that one. All right, he really, really should have scored on that one, but he does get walked down. But nonetheless, all right, nonetheless, the Falcons back in business. They take out the Commanders, who are going to see a sophomore slump, I believe. New England took care of Carolina. No surprise there. Buffalo and New Orleans, all right, was a lot more competitive than I think a lot of people were expecting, but I digress. James Cook continues to feast. He had 117 and a touchdown to lead the Bills here to a 31-19 win. He has had 8 straight games with a rushing touchdown for James Cook. He continues to bless my fantasy team, and if you have him, probably blessing you as well. Detroit took care of Cleveland as expected here, 34-10. ARSB had 2 TDs. Aiden had 2 sacks. So yeah, Detroit doing what they did. Only thing was Goff and JMO were just off. Goff had one of like a horrible pick in this game. But yeah, got to get back on the same page. But overall, the Browns are not a very good team at all. So Lions did what they were supposed to do. The Giants and the Chargers. Boy, do I wish I was talking about this one in a much more favorable state. Here's the sad news. Before we talk about what happened, here's the sad news. Joe Alt got injured and completely changed this game for the Chargers. All right, completely changed this game for Justin Herbert and for the Chargers as a whole, hoping for the best. Malik Neighbors tore his ACL in this game. And I want to once again reiterate, even though for monetary reasons, I know why owners in these teams go to these turf fields, but grass, as someone who played, grass is so much better and so much better for a player safety perspective than playing on turf. Turf sucks. It sucks to fall on, regardless of the quality, and it sucks to plant on a lot of times, which is why you see so many of these injuries. That is unforgiving. It's unforgiving. And how many stars and just players in general across sports, whether it's football, whether it's soccer, whether it's whatever it is, do we have to see get these knee, feet, leg injuries from playing on these turf fields, and especially at MetLife? How many times? All right, how many times? And it's going to hurt the Giants big time here. Neighbors goes down, and this was supposed to be a landmark day. It should have been a landmark day for the Giants. Scat with the start, Dart making his first start, and he balled out. So to have Neighbors go down is such a bittersweet pill for the Giants, especially since they won. They get the win here, 21-18. Dart, I'm not surprised, all right? And I hate this as a Cowboys fan because why does every other quarterback, well, Jaden is kind of in a little bit of a rut, and Hurts is, I'm not gonna slander Hurts. Hurts got some slander immunity because he was Super Bowl MVP, so I mean he's off. But everybody else got it figured out right now, it seems like, in our division, except for the Cowboys. Like Jerry Jones, bro. But anyways, Jackson balled out. I love to see it. All right, because he's been my guy since he was back at USC. He balled out then. Of course, we ended up getting Caleb, so it worked out for us. But, it'd have been cool to see what he could have done with Lincoln Riley. Of course, he worked out at Ole Miss anyway. But yeah, Jackson, he's got that dog in him. All right, the vibes are just there in New York right now. He's got the personality that I think this team needs as like a leader and as like a refresh. He can sling it. He showed off the legs, I think, a lot more than people that didn't know Jackson knew about in this game, where it was just that insane conversion on third down to get that after running into a clogged hole, then bouncing back out, and just, I'm going to get it. All right, him and Scat just got that going on. And then, yeah, Dart plays with a swagger. He plays with an energy that I think the Giants need to help revive that, franchise. And I think he can be the guy to do it. So, yeah, Dart, great debut. Herbo, without Alt, was under pressure, whether it was Burns, whether it was whoever. All right, he just was not that same player. He throws 2 picks. Dexter almost took one to the house. And, yeah, it was Justin Herbert. It wasn't Jay Herbo this week. So, we'll see what happens there. But the Giants, very good win. And, of course, we going to close with the Eagles and the Bucks, which honestly may just have been the premier matchup this week. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. In the build-up, I was excited about this one, so I was expecting a good game. Eagles, of course, have struggled. All right, Jalen Hurts is 1-4, or before this game was 1-4 against the Bucks all time. So it was an interesting game, and the Bucks are my dark horse team currently in the NFC. So how would it go down? And well, no Mike Evans is going to play an impact, but Emeka still for the most part rose to the occasion, but so did Quinyon Mitchell and Coop, honestly, and the rest of that secondary for the Eagles, even though it kind of fell apart in that second half. But they made enough plays at the end here to get it done 31-25. We had the best of Baker, we had the worst of Baker. All right, he had 289, 22 for 40 in this game, 2 touchdowns, but an oh so costly pick when they were driving and had momentum and could have tied this game or put themselves in a position to tie it. That pick was just painful. When he could have just thrown it away, that was an example of him doing too much. It's the things that make him brilliant, right? That conversion where he ran outside, found a way to escape. That felt very Manziel-esque. Or honestly, it's Baker too, Baker-esque. Where he just found a way to get that first down. That was brilliant. But then that pick was just on the same possession, I think, as well. It was just a backbreaker. It was just an absolute backbreaker. Too many mistakes made for the Bucs. Too many opportunities they did not get to take. But it was a good fight. All right, it was a good fight, a good scrap. Bucky Irving cooked in this game. 5 receptions, 5 receptions for Bucky. We're not talking about his rushing performance. 5 receptions, 102 and a touchdown. Emeka had 4, 101 and a touchdown. He was battling with Quinyon all game. Of course, that 77-yarder doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. But nonetheless, both of them showing why they will be the premier in their position for a very, very long time in this league. And yeah, Eagles defense showed up. That pass rush was brutal at the end. All right, I thought Baker died on that sack. I forget who it was. It was Ojomo. Yes, when Ojomo came through on that sack, on that all out, on second down, I thought he killed Baker. I heard that pop. I was like, oh my gosh, Baker's down. It's OV. It's OV. But he hop back up because it's Baker Mayfield. But yeah, that Eagles defense is legit. If you didn't know, now you know. And yeah, they're going to be here. All right, even with Hurts not doing much of anything in this game and Saquon being held in check, they still found a way to win, and that is what great teams do. The Eagles are a great one. All right, regardless how you feel about them, they are in fact a great team. The defending Super Bowl champions get it done against a team that they will probably very likely see at some point down the line in the NFC playoffs. But that was the first window. Let's talk about the second window, which, I mean, why is it always a banger, right? Why is the second half slate always an absolute banger? And it was yet again this week. All right, kicking it off with the Rams and the Colts. Once again, went down to the wire. Colts had command of this game for so long. It was looking like they were about to be 4-0. All right, it was looking good for Indy. And then the fourth quarter happened. Which started well. Similar to this game, started well. Michael Pittman scoring, got the field goal. They were looking good. They were looking good, and then it all just flipped. It just all flipped, and then it becomes 2020, right? And I'm thinking, okay, the Rams are at least going to, run the clock down, get the field goal, get out of here, get the W. But no, Tutu Atwell said, no, I got this 88-yarder. I'm finna take this to the apartments. Shout out to Parlay. And that's it. All right, and that is all she wrote. The Rams get it done here, 27-20. Matt Stafford goes 375 and 3 touchdowns in this game. Puka has 13, 170 and a touchdown. I feel like we're going to look back at Stafford's career. I feel like he's one of those guys that history is going to be very kind to Matt Stafford because of how he's going to be in the record books. He's already got the Super Bowl win. And then just historically looking back, I think Stafford's his career is going to age so well, especially once we kind of get out of kind of this era and it's people kind of learning about him. They're gonna be like, why weren't people bigger on Matthew Stafford? So yeah, he had a great day. Puka was a monster in this game, and the Colts just didn't have it. All right, 2 interceptions for DJ in this game. And the run was going to end eventually, but still a very strong run, a strong start to the season for the Colts. But the Rams showing me something. A lot of teams grew up this week. All right, a lot of teams grew up this week. The Jaguars, I feel like, grew up a lot this week. They go into San Fran and get this done, 26-21. This felt like a classic Clemson game back in the day when Clemson was good with T-Law and ETN, and maybe T-Law didn't go crazy this game, but it was Trav. Yeah, 124 and a touchdown for ETN. He was him. He was that guy. All right, he was the bell cow. He was the thing that made that offense go. Big catch, though, for Travis. I know a lot of people have been up and down about Travis' season so far because he hasn't really made that pop, so to speak. But, yeah, that was a huge catch on their own end to convert there. So big shout out to Trav. However, this was not just the ETN game. This was the Devin Lloyd game. All right, he had 8 tackles, 1 TFL, 2 PDs, and 2 interceptions as a linebacker. Outrageous. All right, an absolutely outrageous game from Devin Lloyd. He was a menace. He was a menace. All right, CMC did his thing. Fantasy owners, you probably feasted a little bit, but Purdy didn't look completely there. The Jags were just better. All right, credit where credit's due. The Jags were better. Like I said, they grew up a little bit this week. The Chicago Bears, this one just finished. And my goodness, Josh Blackwell blocks the kick after the Raiders, which, by the way, I want to say I hate the new kickoff return rules. I hate it. I wish they would go back to the old way because I absolutely hate it. Them starting at the 45 or 30, whatever it is, it's so stupid. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I know injuries. I hate it. Okay? But yeah, it looks like Vegas has got this good. Plenty of time. They get, in position for Carlson. He can make these kicks. And Blackwell comes around that corner and says, I just watched it. It felt like it was slow motion. I was like, wait, he might actually get there. And then he got there, and I was like, what? What? And I know it had to be much worse for you Raiders fans to watch that go down after you blew the lead. And the Bears, Caleb Williams awakens. All right, and they get down there. Swift scores the go-ahead touchdown. Byard is going to be haunting the Raiders' memories for a very long time. Very similar to Devin Lloyd. We got a 7 tackle, 1 TFL, 2 PT, and 2 interception game from Kevin Byard. So that might be your AFC and NFC Defensive Players of the Week, respectively. All right, monster games for both of them. However, the one positive thing Vegas can take out of this game, besides the Bears and Ben Johnson growing up, for Bears fans, but for Raiders fans, what you can take away is Ashton Jeanty had his breakout game. All right, this was the game that everybody's been expecting for Jeanty. He had the rush yards. He also had 3 touchdowns, and not just any regular 3 touchdowns. He had 2 in the receiving game, which wasn't really a highlight. He was known for being a pure runner at Boise State. That's what everybody knows. That's why he got picked 6th overall, is because of his running ability. But he showed some talent and, out of the backfield catching the ball in this game, and was a big reason why Vegas was up for the majority of this game. But you got to hold on to it. You got to hold on to it. But at least Jeanty has that breakout. Bears, though, showing me something. You're showing me something. You know who's showing me absolutely nothing? The Baltimore Ravens are cooked. All right? They are cooked. Finito. I don't want to say finished, but it's not looking good, man. It is not looking good. They faced Kansas City, which in preseason was probably like, man, this has been an AFC championship. Like, this is a headliner. Mahomes versus Lamar. And it went like every other just about Mahomes and Lamar matchup, I'll be honest with you. 37-20, KC dominates. Honestly, Justice Hill scored really, really late to make this score look better than it was. This was not this close. Even 17 points, this game was not this close. This was a butchering. This was an absolute butchering. Patrick Mahomes had a day. 270 and 4 touchdowns for Mahomes, who looked like Patrick Mahomes for the first time in a minute. Now, getting Xavier Worthy, we'll do that. All right, getting him back. Rashee Rice will be back very, very soon. And maybe the Chiefs are back in the game. But the Ravens they're in free fall right now. All right, they are falling off of the cliff. It's not looking good. Lamar has to leave this game with a hamstring injury. So we will see. All right, we will see. But the Ravens are just not in a good way right now. Don't know what's going to happen, all right, because that schedule is not getting any better. This could be a really, really rough season for the Ravens, and I think that would surprise a whole lot of people because they were definitely getting a lot of hype, especially even after week 1 with that Bills matchup and even losing in the fashion they did. People were like, yo, Ravens are still the Ravens. But, yeah, now they're looking at 1-3. It's not looking too pretty, all right, not looking too pretty. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached Roundup. Let's talk about NASCAR, yeah? Playoffs are underway. We're in Kansas this week, and it was looking like it might be a landmark day for 23XI Racing and Denny Hamlin, but then Denny bumped into Bubba Wallace. Yes, Denny Hamlin. Can you? Hey, they can say no tampering, all right, that he's going for the win at the very minimum. However, it was very stupid to go and take out your own car that you own, who needs this win to advance, to bump him, put him in the wall, and then Chase Elliott goes right around the left and takes the win here at Kansas and advances to the next round, joining Ryan Blaney. So yeah, an absolute disaster class for Denny Hamlin, one he's going to want to forget. Soccer this week, all right? Big news was, of course, Ousmane Dembele destiny fulfilled. All right, he does in fact win the Ballon d'Or, well deserved. The voting, the scoring was a little interesting. I don't know how Rafinha was at second. Questionable. Pedri at like 11th was also very, very questionable. Cole Palmer, as much as I like Cole Palmer, I don't know if he was the 8th best player in the world last year. Yeah, just some very questionable choices, which, it's the Ballon d'Or. It's probably the course. But I think the winner was correct. All right. But yeah, long time coming for Dembele. I think a lot of people started to count him out after that Barca run. And then, figured it out in PSG, became form, and became one of the best players in the world. And he wins his first Ballon d'Or. We'll see if it's his last. All right. We will see. Yamal does win the Copa, which is news to absolutely nobody. He's going to win that award, bar him staying healthy for like the next 4 or 5 years. Okay. Staying in world soccer, staying in Spain. Atletico, all right, we had the Madrid derby, Atletico versus Real, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, Atletico brought out the belts. All right, Real Madrid has been flying, to be fair, to start the season. Maybe they need to be humbled. All right, boy, did they get humbled. Griezmann scored for the first time in like 9 months. Alvarez, completely unplayable, unremarkable, all of the above. Mbappe did score yet again, and it was a very pretty goal, but it wasn't his best performance. But I'm not putting this on Kylian Mbappe, who's been the best player in the world this year. No, I am putting this on the fact that I do not understand how you could have so much talent in that Real Madrid midfield, and there's still these games where they play elite competition and they just get overran. You have Jude Bellingham. You have Valverde. Shuanimi. Camavinga sometimes if he wants to dip inside there. But, you should not be getting overrun with all of the talent that Real Madrid has in that midfield. Guller, Arda, who's been great offensively. Defensively, still figuring it out. But, he's been basically Ozil. I don't know what's going on. And he scored in this game, by the way. I do not understand fundamentally how Real Madrid's midfield continues to just completely collapse against any form of actual comp. They got to figure that out if they want to win a Champions League this year. You've got all the talent in the world. Mbappe's back in form. Goal's making the jump. You got to figure it out. All right, so Jude and Valverde, I'm putting it on you. You guys are the two top dogs in that midfield. You got to figure it out. All right, and you got Xabi Alonso. He's a midfield maestro. Somebody's got to figure it out in Real Madrid. All right, because it's not looking good. W. All right, let's talk about it. Today could have been the last game of the season for the Indiana Fever. But no, they weren't feeling that. 90-83, they get it done here in Game 4 to cause a penultimate, the final. All right, Game 5, no Game 7s in the W. Game 5, though, same difference. Kels had 25, but she wasn't a star. All right, though, big shout out to Kelsey Mitchell per usual. Aaliyah Boston. Bow. Yes. Okay. 24, 15, and 5 against Asia, who still had 31 and 9. But, all right, Big AB, former number 1 overall pick, put some respect on her name, one of the best bigs on the planet. All right, showed up and showed out. Reminding everybody when this was originally her team. Okay. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff from the Fever. This is, again, a much bigger fight. All right, they're playing with house money right now. Best player potentially on the team and one of the best players in the world is literally been an assistant coach for most of the season. All right, and they're still here. They've dealt with all these injuries to Ari, to Sophie, and of course, as we just said, to CC, and they're still here. All right, they're still here. They're still fighting. They're still competing for a championship. Imagine when this team gets healthy. But for now, they still got it. All right, they still in the thick of it. Kels, AB leading the way, but we'll see what the MVP can do in Game 5. Need some help, though. All right, Jackie showed up, but they need Chelsea, and even outside of the big three, they need some outs in Vegas to get going if they want to take out the Fever. Phoenix is dangerous. Phoenix might just win the championship. I'm not going to lie to you. If you're looking at this team, bro, with Kalia, Satu, and AT playing the way they are, I would not be shocked if the Phoenix Mercury win the W. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. All right, Bonner might get the last laugh. She just might get the last laugh. All right, they took out Minnesota here 84-76 in one of the worst officiated games quite possibly in WNBA history. It was honestly disgusting. And it resulted in the second best player on the planet getting injured seriously, which has completely altered the rest of this series. I likely believe the Mercury, by the time you're watching this, will have won tonight and will be advancing to the WNBA Finals, where I would have them as the favorite. But yeah, horrible. All right, horrible because that call, completely avoidable. If you get injured in that situation, if calls are made and calls are just not made throughout, And yeah, the Mercury were able to take advantage, and the game is the game. They win, and I expect them to be on top. All right, they are my favorites for the WNBA finals if they make it, but still got to play the game. So we'll see. We will see. The MLB has come to an end. All right, the regular season. All right, we still got the playoffs, which is, again, the most wonderful time of the year if you are a baseball fan. Okay, the number 1 seed went to the Toronto Blue Jays as they were able to outlast the Yankees in game 162 as they both won, but the Blue Jays did have the advantage. You got to think, man, if Devin Williams didn't suck so much, the Yankees would have a bye and not have to play their arch rival, the Boston Red Sox. This is going to be horrifically toxic. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. You've got Red Sox, Yankees in the wild card, and winner gets to go play Toronto. Yeah, that is just, the AL East is just disgusting, all right? Absolutely disgusting. Seattle got the 2nd seed, all right, and they will get the winners of the Guardians and the Tigers. Tigers, welcome back to the playoffs. Y'all were expected to be a top 2 seed at one point in time, but that second half didn't go exactly the way you pictured it. However, still made it to the dance. We'll see what you can do with it. National League, Brewers are the top seed. Chicago and San Diego is going to be a lot of fun, and we'll see who takes on Milwaukee. Milwaukee, a lot of young talent. Chorios made that jump this year. We'll see what they can do in the playoffs. The Dodgers are playing in a wild card, which I don't think anybody would have expected, but they get the Reds, who just barely make it in. I think a lot of people obviously would favor the Dodgers. And the winner of that gets the Phillies, which means we might get a NLCS rematch between Philly and the Dodgers, which is always a blast. So yeah, I'd be very interested in that, but we'll see. All right. MVPs, I think everybody knows that Ohtani's winning the NL. AL's a little bit up at grabs. Judge is kind of on a rampage right now, and did get that kind of 1 WAR kind of barrier between him and Raleigh. But with Cal having the greatest power hitting season for any catcher of all time, he could win it. He could have the story. All right, he could have this story. But I think I'm biased, even as a Yankees fan, and people would say I'm biased. But the man hit 331 and hit 53, 54 bombs. Just come on. All right, Judge, and he missed a bunch of time. Judge is the MVP, okay? Judge is the MVP. We also have next week, all right, before we round this entire thing up, we do have a major UFC event coming up. It's been a minute, yeah? It's been a minute. But we do have UFC 320, Ankalaev versus Poatan to the rematch. And honestly, before, back in the day, I would have said Alex has got this, as I did when they fought the first time. But I mean, unless Alex touches him, I don't think he can do anything with Ankalaev on the ground, and I think that's what he's going to go for. But we'll see what Alex can do. I will never count out Poatan, but I would favor Magomed in this one. We also have, this is a double title fight. It's going to be a good one, all right? And this one might be the better fight. We got Corey Sandhagen and Merab. I fully expect Merab to be on his Merab here, but the Sandman has been informed, all right? Since I feel like he's flipped the switch. This is the best version of Corey Sandhagen we've seen. So it should be a good one, but I do think Rob stays the king of the bantamweight division. We also got Jerry versus Roundtree, Emmett versus Zalal. It's a good card. All right, it's a really, really good card for 320. I will be tuned in back home in the borough. But, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I hope you guys enjoyed. I had a great weekend. It is almost October, and I tend to have some great Octobers. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ocho signing off.